Trey Blalock, security specialist from Seattle, here at Data Day 2016 here in Austin, Texas. So welcome.
Hi, thanks.
How's the show been so far?
Oh, it's been great.
Yeah? Yeah. So did you speak yesterday or?
Yes, I was teaching a pen test class the day before, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, there's a common theme that I was hearing amongst quite a few of the people that I was talking to today and interviewing, and where security is just seems to be probably at the very top of areas of concern or areas for more research to be done and more work to be done to ensure security. As a security specialist, what kind of demands or what kind of problems are you defending people from, or
So there's a lot of huge problems, especially with the big data deployments and also with the cloud security, where for once the technology actually got way beyond what the typical corporate security controls were used to using, and we're seeing a lot of rapid deployments of systems that have really unique and horrible security issues. And they're being broadcast, and I also do a lot of supply chain surveillance. So one of the things I do is I look at the entire IP4 spectrum for problems that we see across hosts, globally. And so we see these problems pop up around the world in some of the largest companies, and they don't realize that a lot of their data is about to be leaking out if it's not already public. So we see what would be very, very basic mistakes from a security architecture standpoint, but because companies didn't know that these were issues when they started deploying big data in their systems, they didn't realize that they needed to do security differently than traditional security models. And so what we're seeing is as people are rolling out all these big data projects, they're introducing a huge number of security risks that they're not even aware of in a lot of times. And unfortunately, if they don't do the security architecture up front properly, the cost to fix that tends to be an exponential cost. So it's a big problem if they don't catch it up front. Yeah.
Catch it early or pay later, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And this is I don't know what this popped in my head, and maybe you could just help me straighten out. Does IP6 offer any benefits or any? Does it add?
IP6 has some interesting ability to help catch attackers.
Okay.
But other than that, not really. It's got all the same problems. In fact, it actually introduces additional problems into the traditional IP4 networks, because a lot of these companies that have IP4 networks don't realize they may also have an IP6 network. And so I'm seeing things as a common pattern where they'll adjust and correct security controls like their firewalls for IP4, but then they leave things open on IP6. And so attackers are realizing, I can get direct access to the database on the IP6 side.
No one's watching this door.
Yeah.
It's wide open.
It creates some interesting problems.
Yeah. Speaking of interesting problems, I'm hearing more and more enterprises looking for ease and easy scalability, inexpensively, and they're talking about moving data into the public cloud. And now, does that introduce an even greater security risk, in your opinion, or is it about
I would say that the risks are very different. It's not that it can't be secured. It's just that they're very different. And one of the problems that I keep seeing is that people try to apply traditional security controls into those environments, and they just simply aren't suitable, and they don't work, and they're not scalable. Then the other thing is you get into this aspect, especially with AWS, where you've got serverless computing. And so all the concept of having all these antivirus and all these different tools running on your servers might work in your EC2 instances on Amazon, but for these serverless aspects of stuff running on Lambda or S3 files and stuff, it doesn't apply at all. So they can't even see what's going on in those things. And so there's all sorts of different areas around that you have to have more modern controls, and most of these companies just simply aren't doing it.
That's interesting. Yeah. I think these giant monolithic or huge enterprises, or just even larger companies or government entities. I think sometimes they're just a few steps too far back, and like you're saying, like these security risks that we're looking at, or that are being brought up or being introduced now with this greater data, big data that. Like you said, people are just not even aware of it, and so it's one of those things where you just got to stay on your game, I suppose, and that's what you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing I try to do is I try to help clients find all the problems where they've got that kind of data leakage. And it's interesting because the techniques we're using to analyze data leakage on the cloud are very different than what we used to do on the internet as a whole. And a lot of companies that are using systems, be it I don't want to pick on one particular vendor, but a lot of the customers that are using some of these storage platforms and database platforms are making mistakes where they think that all the traffic has to come through their primary web portal and is in their logs and under the protection of their tools and their WAFs and stuff, and it simply isn't. And a lot of that stuff is starting to get indexed by Google, and so people are able to start looking for confidential and top secret buckets that are on Google, and they're pulling stuff back, and it's not stuff that the companies realize is out there. So it's creating some huge problems.
Yeah.
So.
If you haven't evaluated your company's security and data safety in the last, I don't know, how long would you say that like if someone hasn't gone through and had an audit done, like within how many, what period, like 1 year, 5 years?
1 year, definitely.
Within 1 year. So if you haven't had a security audit done, call someone like Trey and get it done, because it might seem expensive or like unnecessary incurred costs, but stop it now. Lock the doors now so that you aren't paying for it later.
And ideally, call somebody who has really good security background before you start deploying into some of these newer technologies, especially with big data in the cloud.
Awesome. Trey, thanks so much for stopping by and talking to us.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Cheers.